Welcome in to Sports Memo's NFL opening line report for Monday, December 3rd. We got our NFL expert in with us just like every Monday. Teddy, welcome into the podcast. How are you doing?
Hey, great to be here, Drew. I'm doing lousy, man. I had a lousy weekend. My clients hate me, and I got to bounce back strong. But the good thing is that there's some interesting games to talk about, and some definite. There's a couple of emergency betting alerts that we want to talk about on today's podcast. With the opening line report, obviously the goal here to give you the info where these lines are going to move and when they're going to move. So you know, do I bet now? Do I bet later? That's the goal for the opening line report.
Well said, Teddy. And guys, as Teddy's breaking down the games of the opening lines, where these lines are going to go, he's got two plays for tonight up at sportsmemo.com. It's $9 Monday, and we also have a special promo code for the podcast, NFL Half, at checkout for the rest of Teddy's full season NFL for half off, $200 of savings there at sportsmemo.com. Teddy, off of a down weekend in the NFL, but still 58% NFL year-to-date profitable in all four sports he's betting right now. So Teddy covers a great choice for your betting service needs here. Teddy, we got the Monday night game tonight, 379-380 Washington, Philadelphia. Real quick, any betting thoughts on tonight's Monday night game?
You know, I did not get involved in the game at all. It's hard for me to trust Philly as chalk right now for obviously multiple reasons, one of which is that nobody's healthy in their secondary, which leaves the back door open, et cetera, et cetera. And, of course, Eagles, saving their season with the come-from-behind win against the Giants last week. They only won that game by 3. The last time they won a game by more than 6. And the only game they won by more than 6 all year came on. That was a Thursday night game where they bust to the Giants. So Philly hasn't exactly been what I'm looking for in chalk. And all that being said, I think the Eagles are a good notch or two better than the Redskins with Colt McCoy at QB. McCoy playing like the career backup that he is in every recent starts and taking over for Alex Smith. So I don't trust Washington. I don't trust Philly. I don't have a strong opinion on the total. I'm sitting this one on the sidelines, Drew.
All right, Teddy. And we got Thursday's game. Jacksonville, I believe, on short rest traveling to Tennessee. Looks like 37 the total. With the Titans laying 4.5, some fours in the marketplace, but mostly 4.5. How would you look to? What do you think's going on here with Jacksonville, Tennessee?
Well, I mean, the Jags were pretty awful yesterday, and they came away with a 6-0 victory. They had 11 first downs in the game. 211 total yards with Cody Kessler at QB. They didn't average 4 yards a play, but they didn't make as many mistakes. And they made a few, but they didn't make as many mistakes as Indy. Indy was just out of sync offensively. And let's give Jalen Ramsey credit all week. Ramsey, maybe he'll play, maybe he won't. He ends up being active, and boy, he was a difference maker in that game for the Jags. But, the Jags, they didn't save their season. They just got to win. Now they got to travel on a short week to face a Titans team that they looked into the abyss and they rallied from it. I'll give Tennessee credit because the Jets had them on their heels repeatedly in that contest. Even in the fourth quarter when Tennessee was coming back, the Jets grind out a first down on the ground. Doesn't look good for Tennessee, but both sides of the football making plays down the stretch. And, of course, a fortuitous fumble recovery by Marcus Mariota gets his own fumble after a long scramble was the difference maker as the Titans rallied back to win the game. You would think there'll be a little bit of support here for Tennessee. The early money has come on the Titans. Look-ahead line, and, of course, as we do every Monday, we're going to give you the look-ahead line from last week. This is a bettable number, so it shows how much this past weekend's games affected the point spread, and I'm going to give you my power rating number, which is just my personal number for these two teams. Look-ahead here was Titans minus 6.5. My powering number is Titans minus 6. As we saw again last Thursday, the road team's having a very difficult time on Thursday Night Football this year.
Yeah, this line's surprising to me as well, Teddy. We got 10 a.m. Pacific kicks on Sunday now. Baltimore, Kansas City starting us off. Game numbers 105, 106 on the Sports Memo on screen right now. Seeing 53.5 the total, Teddy. Chris showing Kansas City minus 6.5. Heritage at 7. Jazz at 7. So a lot of 7s out there, but Chris showing 6.5.
Yeah, you were surprised at the Jags-Titans line? You thought it was short?
Correct.
Yeah, I thought it was a little bit short, too, and the look-ahead thought it was a little bit short, and my powering number thought it was a little bit short, so all of those factors. But in favor of what you were saying, that being said, Chris is at 3.5 on that game right now. The market's mostly 4.5. When it comes to Baltimore and KC, look at their respect for the Ravens all of a sudden. Look headline here, 9.5. My powering number, 7.5. The number 7 and even 6.5 are out there for KC Baltimore. And again, the Chiefs' box score numbers don't look good. That being said, Patrick Mahomes did not have a good day yesterday. Right? He wasn't on. The offense was out of sync. It took a long while for them to get going. Hey, when all said and done, there's KC with 40 points on the scoreboard. And no, the defense got picked apart, and they missed Kareem Hunt. Spencer Ware, their leading rusher yesterday was Mahomes. Spencer Ware had, less than 50 yards. He wasn't a difference maker on the ground for the Chiefs. So, there's certainly, off a non-cover for Kansas City and off 3 straight wins and covers for Baltimore, there's a change in support for these two teams. That being said, I don't think this line holds lower than 7. I don't think the 6.5 holds, and there will be plenty of public money on the Chiefs, even though they failed to cover the last couple of weeks. And they've got some issues on the defensive side of the football. I think this line closes 7. It could go to 6.5. I don't think it gets there. 53, the current number. We are seeing a little bit of under money. Certainly Baltimore, and what an impressive defense performance at Atlanta. But Atlanta was flat as a pancake. I don't anticipate KC being quite that flat this week.
Yeah, and Teddy, KC, they won, but they didn't cover. And you said they missed Kareem Hunt. Do you think that's just his talent on the field, or do you think kind of everything surrounding that situation hurt the team?
Both. Okay. Certainly the situation's not good. Anytime you're on a Thursday or a Friday or a Saturday, you're talking about anything that's an off-field distraction. It's never good in the NFL. But Kareem Hunt is a difference maker. Kareem Hunt, as a running back, was making plays all over the field, and the lack of his explosiveness. You saw it yesterday. All they had was Travis Kelce downfield. And that's a concern for an offense that's based on big plays, and a quarterback who is, Patrick Mahomes is making throws that nobody else in the NFL is making right now, legitimately. The throwing back across his shoulder over the middle late, and he's zipping it in between 3 defenders and hitting his receiver. Does that last forever? Does that last against the Ravens defense? Maybe there will be more support for Baltimore here than I'm thinking. No surprise if the wise guys are on the Ravens this week.
Teddy, we got Indianapolis, Houston up next. 48.5 the total. Looks like mostly 4.5s to 5.5s in the marketplace. That's Houston laying at home.
Yeah, look ahead line, Houston 3 minus 120. My party number is the Texans minus 5.5. And a couple of things to think about with Houston's blowout over Cleveland yesterday. One, a lot of that was turnovers. No, I shouldn't say a lot of it. It was a fluky game in terms of the Browns hitting plays and then making mistakes, and hitting plays and then making mistakes, which is what they've done all year. But the Texans were able to survive a lot of those plays and force turnovers in bunches. And if I have to pick one receiver out of anybody in the NFL to make one catch, I'm going to pick DeAndre Hopkins, man. I really am. He's that dude every week. I'm like, that's an oh my God, how did he catch that? He's something special. And this Texans run now 9 straight wins, another cover last week. The markets haven't fully given them support, but again, my number's up to 5.5 here for Houston. Indy, a very the offense was just out of sync, and Luck missed Inman, I think, like 6 different times where he had him open and it kind of touched his finger and it would have been a big play. There was a bunch of that for Indy. To see that team get shut out, the offensive line didn't control the line of scrimmage. They didn't run the football the way that they were. And Andrew Luck, who hadn't been sacked, all of a sudden was under pressure and looked like a guy that was under pressure for the first time this season. Houston's defense is capable of doing similar things to Indy's defense. And the Texans, off another dominant performance, their bandwagon isn't as big as a lot of these teams, especially since they've won 9 in a row. Houston's betting bandwagon, relatively small.
Teddy, we got 109-110 Carolina at the Cleveland Browns. Looks like the Panthers -1 with some juice at Chris, -1.5 at other shops, 47 the total.
Look headline, Cleveland -1. My powering number, Cleveland -1. And this is one of 2 emergency betting alerts. And, of course, we're talking about the number of 1 right now, so we're not talking about on a key number. But this line's going up. Panthers are going to take money. They've already taken a little bit of money. I would expect they're going to take more. There are 1.5s popping up, and I don't know how high it's going to go. I do know that Carolina is taking money right now. So if you like the Panthers, bet the Panthers sooner rather than later. Even after their 4th consecutive loss, there is still support for Carolina, and obviously a circle the wagons type of contest. And with Cam Newton coming off, a 4-turnover performance in which, Cam Newton wasn't good yesterday. Plain and simple. He made a ton of mistakes, and some of them unforced errors, including missing a wide-open receiver that would have tied the game late in the 4th quarter. Of course, Baker Mayfield had a really rough game. Certainly a rough first half in Houston yesterday. And, the Browns game was like this. They complete a 79-yard touchdown pass, and, the penalty, you got to do it again. And they complete another one, and then he gets chased down from behind to Callaway, both to Callaway. Chased down from behind and fumbles at the 1-inch line. And, that was the way it went for Cleveland. They did not handle success particularly well after winning back-to-back games. I don't view that as a long-term negative on the Browns. I'm a little bit surprised by the Panthers' support. But again, look ahead here was Cleveland favored. My powering number is Cleveland favored. So circle the wagons time for Carolina may have come and gone. And all of a sudden, Ron Rivera, the latest coach, and I'm hearing all kinds of rumors to be on the hot seat. Rivera, by the way, made multiple changes today. He fired a couple of defensive assistants, said he's going to be the defensive play caller here on out. So essentially demoting his coordinator and firing a couple of assistants. Does that reek of panic to you, Drew?
It's definitely definitely something to notice, and change might be happening there. We got Atlanta, Green Bay up next, Teddy. 47.5 the total. Chris showing Green Bay -5.5. A lot of 6s other way.
Yeah, and have fun with this number. I spent like a half hour trying to make this number. The look-ahead line here was Packers -7. I was just trying to get a sense of where Green Bay is right now. My powering number ended up being Packers -5. That's not one of my more confident numbers. I'll just put it that way. I don't know how Green Bay responds. I want to read everything I can about the Packers locker room. Obviously, Mike McCarthy being fired last night was a surprise. You don't see the Super Bowl winners tend to get fired midseason, and it's not like Green Bay has a chance to save their season at this stage, even if they win out. An 8-7-1 record isn't going to do them any good. So, that being said, I understand the concept. Get rid of it. You're going to fire them. Just let them go. Don't have them. Don't deal with that last month worth of questions, et cetera, and it makes sense. But how good are the Packers even without Mike McCarthy? The Rodgers was throwing the veiled insults at Joe Philbin's offense. Now Philbin's their head coach or interim head coach. So I'm not convinced that it solves Green Bay's problems. And of course, when you look at a team that was 2 touchdown favorites against Arizona and played equal to Arizona, that game, you have the whole game. Those two teams were even. And you look at a Green Bay squad with, the weapons. McCarthy took the blame. The blame should probably go upstairs because this isn't a championship-level roster, and you don't have an Aaron Rodgers and not surround him with weapons. Obviously, that's what the Packers have done this season. But Atlanta, that was a no-show game yesterday. I understand that the final score wasn't a complete blowout, but the Falcons, at 26-16, that was their lowest offensive output in 20 years. The effort wasn't there for Atlanta, and when the effort wasn't there at home, you worry about a team that's been in the postseason every year in recent seasons and now isn't going to be going this year. When you talk about December road games at Lambeau, those don't tend to be bet on spots for teams like the Falcons.
Yeah, tough spot there for the Falcons. We got 113-114, Teddy. New Orleans, Tampa Bay, NFC South matchup here. 7.5. New Orleans laying on the road. 57 the total.
Look ahead line here with Saints -11. My powering number is Saints -8. So we're certainly seeing a little bit of respect for Tampa off the look ahead, no doubt. And certainly the Bucs played better yesterday, but on defense they played better. The offense, Winston again, a turnover-free game, although Winston threw an absolute duck right in the hands of a receiver near the goal line. As bad a throw as you'll see all year, and the defender dropped the ball, and Tampa ended up scoring a touchdown on a 3rd and long on that drive. which, Winston got saved. And a lot of times the plays that don't make the box scores, that could have changed the whole narrative of the game, could have changed the whole narrative of these two team seasons. The bottom line, though, is that the Bucs haven't quit. Dirk Cutter fighting like heck for his job. Tampa has played better at home of late, no question. And the Saints' offense was out of sync. It was out of sync 2 weeks in a row on the Thursday night. They escaped with a winning cover against the Falcons thanks to 3 turnovers from Atlanta in the red zone. And last week they didn't escape in Dallas. And neither one of those games did the offense look in sync. And it's a Saints team, again, with an enormous betting bandwagon that's likely to come back here. Even though they lost last week. It's not like Tampa's got one. But 7.5, 8, it feels like that's where this line's going to be sticking around. 56.5, 57. I'm not seeing a whole lot of love for anything on this total, though I think it's more like, I can't say that. 56.5, 57 feels like where this total is going to be at the end of the day.
And Teddy, how rare is this? The look-ahead line being 11 down to 7.5, so almost 4-point move. How rare is that this time of year in the NFL?
Not that rare. It's unusual. It's worth noting, but it's not like, oh my God, I've never seen that before. But in a non-injury situation like this, obviously, one team off a bad loss, the other team off a good win, and then you see market adjustments like this. It's not a big shock.
Okay, we got the Jets, Buffalo Bills here. Not much limited marketplace here. I am seeing some 3.5s, Teddy. So what are you thinking here, Jets, Bills?
Yeah, questions about it. It looks like Sam Darnold. The first report I read was that he's going to be upgraded to probable, and Josh McCown's been old. And the Jets lost yesterday where they have a big lead. Where they have 16 in that game at Tennessee. They were in control of that game and absolutely let it get away and fell apart down the stretch. And for a team with an embattled head coach, what is it now? 5-6 games in a row the Jets have lost. I forget if it's 5 or 6 that the Jets have lost, but. You have a head coach that's embattled. You have a chance to win a game and steal one, and you played well, and you ran the football, and the defense stepped up. No. Found a way to lose it. And look, the Jets didn't allow a third down conversion until the final drive of the ball game. They did commit a season high in penalties. Certainly by halftime. That first half was ridiculous, and they were still winning and covering. So I worry about the Jets' ability to bounce back. Buffalo fought the good fight, man, in Miami. They were the better team, no question. Josh Allen, and my powering number and the Bills' powering number is off right now. Look at the line here with Buffalo 3. My number is Bills 6.5. The Bills were a right side loser if you had them yesterday, and Josh Allen making plays with his legs and with his arm, and obviously had the chance at the end of the game to steal it, but the pass just underthrown and. Charles Clay couldn't come down with it. But when we talk about momentum for these two teams, the Bills, even with the loss yesterday, and the arguing after the game, and Jerry Hughes going after the ref, that's a team that cares. That's a team that's fighting. The Jets, I worry about their fight here as they travel up to northern New York.
Teddy, you were talking about that Bills-Dolphins game. That was an interesting one, fun one to watch. New England and Miami. Looks like we're seeing the Pats laying 8, 7.5, 47.5 the total. And Teddy, watching that game yesterday, I was thinking about you, man. You got your win on the NFL season win total report.
No, we didn't get it yet. I got Dolphins over 6.5 and Bills under 6.5, but that was a game I absolutely needed. And, of course, the long-term NFL season win track record, 70% over since 2001. It's been really good, and I'm now looking at a 5-0 this year. So the clients will be very happy with that. Maybe they won't hate me as much today after the debacle over the weekend. But that was a huge season win total wise, and Miami wasn't a right side. They stole it, and I'll take it. I need one more win from the Dolphins to go, in the last 4 weeks to get them to 7 wins, and that's all they need. And the Bills right now sitting at 4-8. They're going to have to go 3-1 down the stretch to beat me, although they are favored here, and they'll be favored against the Dolphins in Week 17. Patriots and Miami. Look at line here was 10.5. My powering number is 7.5, and this one coming in the 8 range. The Dolphins are just besieged with injuries everywhere. The defense is atrocious right now. They can't They're not capable of what they're doing is they're creating turnovers. They've been doing it all year, but against Tom Brady, and not always so easy to do. Although Brady threw that pick yesterday up 14 with 5 minutes left to give Minnesota a chance. That's been the exception, obviously, rather than the rule for the NFL's latest 1,000-yard career rusher. But this isn't a game like, where Jets-Buffalo, where my number's 6.5 and the market's 3.5, and I really think that the market's way off. My number was 7.5 here. The markets are 8. And, Miami has backdoor potential now in a way they probably didn't with Osweiler at QB. Ryan Tannehill, he's an upgrade. He's a legitimate upgrade. He's a pretty good QB, but no strong opinion about where this total. Look, we're not going to see an outpouring of Dolphins support this week, but this number doesn't have. I don't sense this number as urgency to get involved at this moment.
Teddy, we got the Sunday nighter: L.A. Rams, Chicago Bears. Somewhat limited of a marketplace, seeing mostly 3.5s. That's the Rams laying on the road, and a 53.5 into 54. I'm seeing out there as totals, but not a lot of totals in the marketplace right now.
Yeah, I mean, we still don't know if it's going to be Daniel or Trubisky, and in my mind, there's a difference between the two, and we saw it again yesterday. And the markets, I'm really surprised we're seeing. It's not a full market here, but the majority of the key books have posted. Look headline here. Excuse me, Rams -3. My powering number with Chase Daniel at QB for the Rams is Rams -2.5. This isn't Rams surface. This isn't Rams territory. And of all the fraudulent, and there were a good handful of fraudulent covers yesterday. The Rams are a better team than Detroit. The Rams were not the right side to win that game by 2 touchdowns. They were off. They were out of sync. Jared Goff wasn't in rhythm. The running game was hit or miss. The defense at times got picked apart, and they still ended up winning by 2 touchdowns, which speaks volumes to their talent level and to what the Lions are doing these days. Finding ways to rip the hearts out of their backers. But at 3.5 here, the Bears' defense is no joke. They had a bad game yesterday. That's not a joke of a defense by any stretch of the imagination. And with Mitch Trubisky on the field, and I know they used a lot of chicanery yesterday in that crazy play. The Philly special to tie the game in the last play of regulation. Chicago's had won 5 in a row. They came out flat there. I don't think they'll come out flat here. And like I said, my number's shorter than this with Daniel. My powering number suggests a play on the Bears, even though the markets right now, we are seeing some Chicago money. If you like the Bears, I'd probably bet them sooner rather than later. I debated to use this one as emergency betting alert, and the more I talk about it, the more I think we should. If you like Chicago, I don't think the 3.5s are going to last. All
right, emergency betting alert, but we're not doing the siren today, huh, Teddy?
You can do it. We need a yes. I'll save the siren for the last one.
Okay.
There was 3 that I had marked down, and this was of the 3. This was the one that I was. But the more I think about it, it does make sense. And now seeing the market, what it's done since I was making my notes between then and this moment. If you like the Bears, take them now. That's a legitimate emergency betting alert. I don't know the 3.5s are going to last.
All right, Teddy. We got the New York Giants, Washington Redskins up next. Looks like the Redskins -1.5 at a couple books in Las Vegas. Not much out there in the marketplace otherwise than Giants Redskins, Teddy.
Yeah, Redskins obviously play tonight. Look ahead line here with Redskins -3. My powering number is Redskins -2.5. The Giants, 3 wins and a push in their last 4 games against the spread. 3 straight up wins during that span. So much for the last pick for the G-men. They're playing good football. The only game they lost was they led by 16 in Philly. And the Giants, in fact, now 5 straight covers, catching more a field goal or higher. Of course, they won't be catching a field goal or higher in this game unless the Redskins look dominant tonight. If Washington beats Philly, the Giants will be catching 3 here. If the Redskins come out and lose by 6, we'll see a line in this 1.5, 2-point range, which is slightly shorter than my powering number or the look-ahead number from last week.
All right, Teddy, we're getting into the later slate of games on Sunday. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 4, 1 p.m. Pacific kick. Denver, San Francisco. Looks like the Broncos -5.5 on the road. 43.5 the total.
Yeah, look-ahead line here was Denver -4.5. My powering number is Denver -4.5. And the markets, we're even moving towards 6 right now. We're not going to see support for San Fran. And this is another one where, again, it's not a key number, but if you like Denver, this isn't one that I circled earlier, but it makes a lot of sense. Get involved sooner rather than later. We're not going to see 49ers support. I mean, who's healthy for San Fran? I mean, if you want to see an injury list that's ugly, I mean, the 49ers, both sides of the football, the defense is riddled, the offense is riddled, the quarterback's out, the running backs are out, the offensive line is out, the playmakers are out. I mean, it's it's a 49ers team that appears to be more intent upon, maybe getting the number one pick than any other factor. And, the Broncos, they're never pretty. Denver's ugly to watch. I don't like Case Keenum. I continue to think this team's a fraud, and yet, they keep winning games and covering point spreads 3 in a row for Denver. Nothing's easy for the Broncos, but defensively, the sticky teams are sometimes pretty good, and maybe a problem against San Fran. Denver will take the support here. 5.5s are going to be 6. If you like the Broncos, bet them sooner rather than later.
Teddy covers NFL year-to-date 58% off a down week. Could be a good time to jump on board, and if you want to, use NFL half as the coupon code at checkout for half off Teddy's rest of the NFL full season. $200 worth of savings at sportsmemo.com right now. 125-126, Teddy. Cincinnati, LA Chargers, 48-47 the total. Looks like the Chargers minus 14 at home.
And that NFL half, that gives everyone everything through the Super Bowl, right?
Yes, no extra charges later. You get the playoffs, Super Bowl, and your props package.
Sure, and the props package, of course, a big piece of that. We love those Super Bowl props. When it comes to, Cincinnati, LA Chargers now 14 at the opener look-ahead line here, 15.5 for the Chargers. My powering number is 14. I've got Cincinnati rated right at the bottom of the NFL right now. You have Jeff Driscoll throwing to an offense that does, no quarterback. They lost their quarterback. They lost their best receiver. Green came back for a quarter yesterday, and then he was carted off the field. We won't see him again this year. I don't think we certainly won't see him this week in L.A. The Bengals defense has been a unit of strength in them. Marvin Lewis here is not a unit of strength this year since he's a playing out the string team, and the markets are showing it, but you worry about the spot for the Chargers. They've not been a great blowout team. They're coming off a particularly big win, rallying from behind. And boy, if you watch the first quarter of that game where the Chargers was getting run out, and it's 13-0, and they're facing a 3rd and long, and Rivers hit Keenan Allen, and then boom, 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 they're in the end zone. It's a whole different ballgame. That's one of those days where one play made an enormous difference. They're about to go 3 and out for the second straight time, and Rivers and Allen connected. One of many times they connected in that ballgame. Chargers have a betting bandwagon right about now. This number can only go up, but I don't think it's gonna. This isn't you got to get to the window. You can still find 14.5 if you want them in Cincinnati, but I think this one sits at 14 for a good couple of days.
Teddy, 127-128, Detroit, Arizona, seeing Detroit minus 2.5 mostly, 40 the total.
Break up the Cardinals. What a win yesterday for Arizona. Straight up at Lambeau Field. Of course, they've not been a team that has responded well to success on a regular basis this season. Look ahead line, Lions minus 3.5. My powering number, Lions minus 1. I'm not excited about laying points on the road with Detroit right now. Are you?
No.
Is anybody? And I understand that Arizona is not a team to trust off a win, especially a win at Lambeau. But everything, all the trend lines for Detroit are wrong, and they've been wrong, and they continue to be wrong, and it's not an easy team for me to get to the window with in this point spread range on the highway. And again, it's not like the Rams even played well yesterday, and the Lions still lost by 2 touchdowns, laying points on the highway against a team that is playing with intensity. Detroit, the weapons aren't there. Their leading receiver yesterday is Levine Toliolo, who is not supposed to be their leading receiver. Galladay, 3 catches, 50 yards. We only have one downfield weapon. He's a lot easier to shut down. That being said, if you're looking at Arizona's side, you're going to have to win the game or come pretty close. And Arizona's only done that 3 times this season. Their home field edge, not particularly strong.
Teddy, NFC East battle here. Philadelphia, Dallas, seeing Dallas minus 4, but limited marketplace with Philadelphia playing tonight.
Yeah, look ahead line here, Dallas minus 3.5. My powering number is Cowboys minus 5. I'm not impressed with Philly. I'm a lot more impressed with Dallas, even though Dak Prescott was sacked 7 times on Thursday night. Only one of these two teams has a defense right now. Leave it that way. 4.5. Again, I don't see a major difference here. If the Eagles blow out Washington and win this game by 3 touchdowns and look really good, the number's probably going to come 3.5. But if it comes anywhere near the point spread, and if the Redskins are able to move the football against the Eagles again tonight, it'll be in this 4.5 range, maybe even a notch or two higher. So if you have action on the Monday night game, you may want to consider having action on this game as well. Philly tonight correlates to Philly on Sunday. Washington tonight correlates to Dallas on Sunday.
Teddy, 2 games left. Last Sunday game here, Pittsburgh at Oakland. Looks like the Steelers minus 11 on the road, 51.5 the total.
Look headline here, Pittsburgh minus 13. My powering number is only Pittsburgh minus 9, and I've got the Raiders ranked dead last in the NFL. I think I have San Fran maybe a half point behind them, but I've got Oakland right near the bottom. Of course, the market's now sitting at 11.5, pretty much across the board. And we'll give the Raiders, it's 2 weeks in a row. The Raiders are playing. There's the efforts there for Oakland. They fought against KC, but fighting against KC is one thing. That's your divisional rival, and they put up 30-something, and the Chiefs' defense isn't very good. The Steelers' defense is pretty good. They're coming off a bad showing. They're coming off back-to-back losses. In theory, it's supposed to be circle the wagons time for the Steelers, but the markets are clearly not about to offer a whole lot of point spread bargains on Pittsburgh here. I want to read during the week, see what Oakland's saying. Again, they gave max effort against KC, and if they give max effort here, there's no reason to think that they wouldn't be able. It's not like there's the issues with there's a ton of issues with Oakland, but 2 weeks in a row they moved the football. It's been freaky, fluky plays, and their defense remains abysmal, and their pass rush is non-existent. And Ben Roethlisberger should be able to lead the Steelers to touchdowns on every possession, but Pittsburgh is one of these teams tends to play up and down to the level of competition. This number to me, they're not going to see a lot of Raiders money coming in. Hence the 11.5. They're trying to draw some wise guy support for Oakland.
Teddy, we got the Monday nighter, Minnesota at Seattle. Chris showing 3.5, mostly threes in Las Vegas. 46 the total at Chris, 45 pretty much everywhere else. There it is.
Yeah, you have to bet that. If you like Seattle, you better get a 3 right now. I don't think it's going to be here by the end of the day. Look headline was 3. My powering number is 3. That being said, the markets are bullish on the Seahawks off a blowout over San Fran, and they're bearish on the Vikings off a loss to New England. But you look at a schedule standpoint for Minnesota, and it's not an easy spot. Going from one side of the country to the other on the road, playing really good teams. And Seattle's playing good football right now. Russell Wilson's 29 touchdowns, only 5 INTs this season. And when you think about what Minnesota's been through with, the Bears and then the Packers and then the Patriots and then the Seahawks and 3 of the 4 on the road, and that's coming off the Saints and the Lions, you worry about this spot for a Vikings team that is nothing other than a disappointment right now. And Seattle's coming on like a freight train. They really are. Seahawks, both sides of the football are making plays. So this is going to 3.5. If you like Seattle, bet it sooner rather than later.
Teddy, looking for what threes are still out there offshore. We got Bet Online, Intertops, UWager, and that looks about it. There's 3.5.
Penny's still at 3. William Hill's still at 3.
Okay.
Greek's still at 3. All with juice. Grande's still at 3. Yeah. So they're still out there. And I could go on and on. There's still 3s. There won't be, I don't think, by the end of the day today.
And everyone heard that alarm. You know what that means by the end of the day. But guys, remember the coupon code NFL half. Rest of the season with Teddy covers NFL for half off. $200 worth of savings at sportsmemo.com. It's $9 Monday as well. All plays up at sportsmemo.com are just $9 today, even if the play doesn't go off today. So it's a great day to jump on the website. Guys, thanks for tuning in. We'll be back all week with sports betting podcasts. College basketball, we got NBA, we got NHL, college football, the Army-Navy game, getting ready for bowls, and, of course, the NFL Every Game on the Board podcast. So best of luck with your bets. We'll be back tomorrow.